Tonight, the man who cried wolf about the coronavirus speaks out.
It was really just to create a viral video.
The Jamaica-bound flight had to come back to Toronto after he insinuated he was sick with the virus. Plus,
my daughter said that she heard like a big bang into my door.
A rude awakening. A man carrying a long gun breaks into a Mississauga home this morning. And the Toronto Police Service kicks off Black History Month with the celebration in North York, while a musical about the struggles and resilience of black women makes its debut. Good evening, I'm Mike Wise. We're hearing firsthand tonight from the man we told you about last night, who thought it was a good idea to tell a plane full of people he might be infected with the coronavirus. He's now facing charges of mischief after hundreds of passengers had their travel plans disrupted and WestJet had to cancel 2 flights. Farah Morali spoke with him with one question on her mind. Why?
Yeah, coronavirus is not something to joke about. It's not light. People don't take it lightly.
More than 24 hours later, that is a lesson James Potok has learned after standing up on a plane 2 hours into a flight to Jamaica and making this disturbing proclamation.
So I stood up, I said, I just returned from a flight from Hunan province. I might have said, this is the capital for coronavirus. And then I said, I don't feel too well. And I looked around, I saw the reception of the people. They didn't seem too happy about it. I don't blame them. And then I stopped recording and I sat back down in my chair.
What made you want to do that?
Well, it was really just to create a viral video.
Good one, buddy! Well, he did go viral. This video posted on social media shows Potok being escorted off the plane, then being jeered by passengers.
Oh, they got you on camera too.
You're a clown, man.
Before you planned to make this video and make this joke, were you aware of the scope of coronavirus, how much it's been talked about, and the fears that are out there? And if you were, why would you think that would be funny to make a video like this?
I guess it was a shock and awe type of thing. You know, being able to think about it after, it's definitely something that's not joked about.
Potok says he didn't realize until later in the flight that it had even been diverted.
Yeah, once I found out that they were turning the plane around is when I felt the remorse. I felt guilty. So now I'm thinking to myself, well, I think I just ruined 250 other people's travelers' plans. So that, you know, that hit me. That bothered me.
If you had a message for those people, what would that be?
I am extremely sorry. I'm completely remorseful to everybody that I damaged their plans, and to WestJet, I'm very apologetic. I'm very sorry for, you know, the situation at hand.
Potok is now charged with mischief as well as breach of recognizance. That's in relation to a different charge for which he was on a peace bond. He's now set to appear in court next month. Farah Morali, CBC News, Toronto.
And it looks like Thursday will be the day hundreds of Canadians stuck in China because of the coronavirus outbreak will be getting on a plane bound for a military base in Trenton. The chartered flight ranged by Ottawa is on its way to the city of Wuhan tonight. More than 250 Canadians have requested help in getting out of the city. Once they arrive back in Trenton, evacuees will be quarantined for 2 weeks as a precaution. A scary morning for a family in Mississauga. A man carrying a gun smashed through their front door and barged into their home, telling them someone was out to get him. Our Greg Ross tells us what happened.
Some tense moments this morning for residents of this quiet Mississauga neighborhood.
We received a call of a male in the area of Glen Aaron Drive in Mississauga that was in the area carrying a long gun.
After wandering the neighborhood for several minutes, the man made his way towards this house. He smashed the driver's side window of a car parked in the driveway before walking up to the locked front door of the house and smashing his way through it.
My daughter said that she heard like a big bang into my door.
This woman owns the home. She wasn't there at the time, but says her kids and several of their friends were. There were 2 adults, multiple teenagers, and a 5-year-old girl inside the home when this man barged in. They did not want to appear on camera, but the 2 adults did tell me that the man demanded everybody get upstairs. He then started muttering something about a fire, and he also told them that there was another man with a gun who was chasing him.
And now I'm shaking. Oh my God.
She says she was at work when she received a frantic call from her 23-year-old son.
My son said that someone is inside my house with a long gun.
Her son told me that the man didn't appear to be coherent. He and his brother negotiated with the man for about 15 minutes and says eventually they were able to convince him to leave through the back door. The man came through this gate. Police say he eventually dropped his gun somewhere on this grassy area before trying to escape on a city bus.
We were able to get a description of the male, and we passed that along to local transit. Mississauga Transit notified us, and they had a male on a bus in the area. Officer responded to the bus, and we were able to apprehend the male and arrest him.
Police say the man is 42 years old and from Mississauga. At this point, his motivation is unclear.
Our canine unit also responded and did a track, and we were able to locate a weapon in the area.
It turns out it was only a BB gun. The man has since been charged with mischief over $5,000, possession of a weapon for dangerous purpose, and breach of a probation order. As for the people in the home, they got a pretty good scare, but nobody was hurt. Greg Ross, CBC News, Mississauga.
If you have children in Toronto public elementary schools, they're only going to be in school for 2 days next week. The Elementary Teachers Union is planning another 2 days of strikes at the TDSB for next Tuesday and Wednesday. Plus, there's a PA day next Friday. That's on top of the 2 planned strike days happening later this week. All this is the latest escalation in the battle between the Teachers Union and the Ford government. Our Queen's Park reporter Mike Crawley has the latest.
Another day, another teachers' strike. This time, a province-wide walkout by Ontario's English Catholic Teachers Association, cancelling class for more than 500,000 kids.
Honestly, I am not here about compensation. I am here about the students.
Catholic teacher Randa Robertson is on the picket line today instead of in her classroom.
What we're doing is important, and I'm hoping it makes a difference because our students need us to stand up for them.
Strikes hit various public school boards today too, as the 3 big teachers unions aim to pressure the government.
We have to look to the future and what's going to happen to the future of education in this province if we don't stand up now and push back against these cuts.
Talks between the province and the Catholic teachers broke down yesterday. Talks involving public elementary teachers collapsed Friday, although the union says a deal was close. And public secondary teachers haven't bargained since mid-December.
President Sam Hammond
already set for rotating strikes in every board this week and a province-wide strike on Thursday. Elementary teachers now warn they'll do the same next week.
The very future foundation of publicly funded education in this province is at stake.
It is very frustrating for parents, and as government, we're looking forward to coming to a deal and working with unions to keep students and teachers in the classroom.
This Ford government minister says she's hearing stories from constituents like this.
I'm a single parent, I'm working a minimum wage job, and now I'm at jeopardy of losing my job because the time that I'm spending at home with my child.
So, contract talks have broken down and no new bargaining dates are scheduled. Every public elementary student faces losing 2 days of school this week and another 2 next week. But the government is not talking about legislating an end to the strikes, at least not yet. It all makes it very hard to foresee just when the daily school routine will get back to normal. Mike Crawley, CBC News, Toronto.
Time now for our first look at the weather. Meteorologist Colette Kennedy joins us now with her forecast. Colette?
Yes, Mike, we are looking at some active weather coming our way, a special weather statement from Environment Canada. So the timing of this is really for what happens tomorrow overnight, so Wednesday night, and then Thursday, and some of it, frankly, lingering into Friday as well. All the areas you see in gray, so very close to the north shores of both Lake Erie and Lake Ontario, and all through the GTA here. Snowfall totals 5 to 15 centimeters. I'll break that down a little further, but also because of the travel conditions, as we may get into, especially this would be later on Thursday, it turning into a mix with some ice pellets, maybe even briefly some freezing rain or freezing drizzle in here in these areas in gray. So this is what you need to know about Thursday. It's not going to be the best day on the roads, and it looks like for both the morning and afternoon commute. Overnight tonight, though, quieter conditions, just a little bit of drizzle and flurry activity towards southwestern Ontario. Other than that, high pressure actually gives us some sunshine and kind of a quiet, decent, but cool day for Wednesday. And then it's late into Wednesday evening as this starts to push in, maybe a bit of a mix at first, then some light flurries, and then it intensifies into Thursday. So we'll take you further into this and how it really plays out a little bit later in the show. For tonight, colder air than we've been used to, -8 feeling like -14, and tomorrow more seasonal with that high around -3. Mike?
Okay, thank you, Colette.
Been 22 years of cleaning. For all them years I worked and prayed.
This is a clip from the musical Caroline or Change. It held its opening night gala at the Winter Garden Theatre tonight, starring Canada's R&B queen Julie Black, as well as internationally renowned soprano Misha Brugger-Gossman. The premiere happening the same night as the Toronto Police Service kicked off Black History Month. Our Natalie Nanowski was at both events. She joins us now live from Hendrick's Restaurant and Bar for the after party for Caroline or Change and the big premiere there tonight. Natalie, you've got a special guest with you tonight.
I do, Mike. Actually, I'm going to be speaking with Ms. Julie Black. Now, Ms. Julie Black is the star of Caroline and Change. The musical just wrapped up. It features a lot of Motown, a lot of jazz. First of all, congratulations. That's amazing. I'm a big fan of yours. I grew up with you. I grew up watching you. Today, you took a kind of a different stage. You were a musical theater. It's the first time doing that. How big of a challenge was that for you? Was it at all?
Well, I use the word opportunity. So it's been a 13-month opportunity to train, to really get to know my mother's story. You know, God rest her soul, she passed away. But her story, my aunts, my grandmothers, and to speak to people who were raised by nannies, you know, white women who were raised by black women, white boys, men who were raised by black women, what did it feel like? So I did my research, and it was a huge blessing. I'm humbled, I am emotional, I'm grateful, all of it.
Yeah, because you said you wanted to learn the story, because the story is about a worker, about a person who, an ordinary person who faces extraordinary challenges, right? And this all is coming out as part of Black History Month celebrations in Toronto. How important, what does that mean for you?
It means everything. It meant that much more to see theater, the Winter Garden in particular, one of our most renowned theaters, have a 50-50 mixed black-white audience. I made it my mission to make sure that the black community was there so that we could have a conversation, so that we could have, you know, share perspective. And I think it's important for musical theater to have a voice, to know that Canadians rock, as these tourists come through, from, you know, American actors, UK actors, like we have Canadians that are doing it strong and doing it well. I love the musical stage company, Obsidian, Mitchell Marcus, you know, all of them, they gave me an opportunity. Robert McQueen and Reza Jacobs, they stood by my side for 1 full year. Elaine Overholt, who trained my voice. A year ago, I couldn't do that part. And now I woke up from my dream and it came true.
Right, you're singing a lot of jazz, a lot of Motown. Do you have a favorite song that was in there?
Well, it's actually more so traditional jazz. We also performed like traditional Jewish songs as well. So it's less about contemporary Motown and more about the spiritual, gospel, that type of thing. So there weren't any songs that were popular. They're all originally Janine Tesori songs written for the musical.
Thank you so much, Leah. I'll let you get back to the party. And of course, you know, you mentioned setting the stage for music. You did a lot for Toronto's music scene. I know that because I listened to you growing up. Thank you so much again for making time for us. Thank you. And Mike, as you mentioned earlier today, I was at another party. That was the Toronto Police Services kickoff to Black History Month as well. That was all about music as well, featuring some of Toronto's biggest talents. And I asked the chief who his favorite artist in Toronto or in Canada is. Get this, he didn't say Drake, he said Miss Jilly Black. Have a listen.
If you have an opportunity to hear her, hear her. If you haven't, I highly recommend that you listen to her music, her voice, her soul, and she's Jane Finch roots. So it speaks to how we've moved, how we've evolved as the Black community, contributing to our communities, not just through politics and all those other things, but also through the entertainment business.
Of course, there's a lot of stars out tonight. There was Maestro, who is out here. Also, producer Farley Flex was out. The hope really is to shine a light on all of the accomplishments Black Canadians have done in the music industry and to continue inspiring the younger generation to push forward and carve out a space, not only here in Toronto or in Canada, but all across the world. And Mike, just in case you wanted to know, the Caroline or Change is playing in Toronto at the Elgin Theatre until February 15th.
All right. Thanks a lot, Natalie, reporting live for us tonight. Peel police are investigating what led up to a man being stabbed to death near Eglinton and Winston Churchill around 2 a.m. in Mississauga.
When officers arrived, they located an adult male suffering from obvious signs of trauma, and he was pronounced deceased at the scene.
Just when we start walking for the morning exercise, to walk, and we saw it.
Police say two men were walking along Sebastian Avenue when they somehow got into a fight that ended with a stabbing. Police say 24-year-old Christopher Burrell died at the scene. Police have not yet provided a description of the other man. Back here in Toronto, it was an emotional scene in court today as jurors saw pictures of Tess Ritchie's body for the first time at the bottom of an outdoor stairwell. Kaylin Schlater, accused of first-degree murder in her death, appeared to break down when he saw the pictures. He held a hand to his face and wiped away tears. Now, the photos are graphic, and CBC News has chosen not to show them. Ritchie vanished after a night out in the city's gay village back in 2017. The Crown says Schlater sexually assaulted Ritchie before strangling her. He has pleaded not guilty to the charges. Here's a live shot of the Toronto skyline right now. The CN Tower orange and blue this evening to commemorate World Cancer Day. Well, we've been spoiled with some above seasonal temperatures for the past few days, but don't get used to them. A special weather statement has been issued for tomorrow night. Colette is back after the break with all the details.
The weather update is brought to you by Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. It's hard to stop a train.
It was Toque Tuesday here in Toronto, part of an annual campaign to raise money to fight homelessness, and it kicked off this morning at City Hall.
No one dreams of being homeless, but things happen, and I think as people of Canada, we can see that could have been us.
Mayor John Tory was on hand to sell a few toques at Nathan Phillips Square, where a symbolic castle made out of cardboard signs was displayed. Each toque is stitched with the message, "I give a damn." They're being sold at TTC stations. The proceeds go to community groups that work directly with those facing homelessness. It's estimated there are more than 5,000 homeless people living in Toronto. Now, since this campaign began in 1997, the national campaign has raised more than $8 million. It runs until the end of March. And you may need a toque later this week. We've got a busy few days coming up weather-wise. Colette's back now with a look at your long-range forecast. Colette?
Thanks, Mike. Yes, I promised I was going to walk through a few more details in terms of the storm that's coming in, primarily for Thursday, but even overnight Wednesday and a part of Friday may have an impact. But that special weather statement in place because of some poor travel conditions, some ice pellets mixing in with some snow and maybe even a little bit of freezing rain. Light snow in the morning and even some flurries later on into Friday, so it kind of wants to hang on, and some cooler air moving in. Even tonight we'll feel it, but some cooler air moving in behind the system than what we've sort of been used to. So high pressure in place for Wednesday, and that's why we really don't have to worry about the active weather then until we get into Wednesday night, overnight towards Thursday. So it's a little spotty in nature at times at first. Looks like some light snow, a little freezing drizzle in there, that potential there, but mostly starting as snow. But then as we get later in the day on Thursday, close to the lake shores, this is where you see we get into these pinks and it becomes more of an ice pellet mixing with the snow, at times mixing with freezing drizzle or freezing rain. That's where we get into some really slippery conditions through here. And then on the backside, it becomes a snow event again. And this is why through areas like the GTA, we may be talking about not that 5 to 10 centimeter range of snow, but perhaps between the time it starts Wednesday and then all the way into Friday, maybe closer to 10 to 15 centimeters of snow we'll be seeing with this before it really pushes out of here as we go towards Friday night and sets us up actually for sunshine to start the weekend off. But we have to get through this first. So the rain really looks like it's going to be further south. There's that mix, and this is why probably in southwestern Ontario back towards Windsor, it's going to be more of a 5 to 10 centimeters that you'll see. But that 10 to 15 with the mix and then some of the heavier snow or more continuous, although there'll likely be some breaks, by the way, at times on Thursday in terms of the intensity, and then it comes back. And up into cottage country, you may actually be in the 5 to 10 and not the 10 to 15. All right, here we go with those overnight temperatures, feeling though like -10 in southwestern Ontario, -1 for our highs, albeit with some sunshine after a few flurries overnight tonight. And then for the GTA, feeling like -14, so try to get used to that. We haven't seen that in a little bit. And tomorrow, a cooler day, albeit seasonal, and some sunshine in there will be very welcome because of what's to come with that storm system there. And then we have that Thursday, even into Friday. And by the way, Mike, there's some of that colder air. Friday night into Saturday. We get the sun on Saturday, but it's going to be chilly.
It's looking chilly. Thanks a lot, Colette.
The first thing that you immediately see when you walk into the room is this transformation from industrial into really what is organic, because Van Gogh's paintings are sunflowers and clouds.
Well, Van Gogh comes to TO. I'll tell you about a new immersive exhibit and the historic building you can see it in. Coming up after the break. A new show featuring the works of Vincent van Gogh is coming to Toronto, not showcasing his original works per se, but instead a digital show that is supposed to encircle audiences with his works.
This is designed specifically for the location that it's in. So in our case, we're taking over the printing press rooms of the Toronto Star. It is an industrial room that gets video mapped right to the walls and right to the pillars and to the beams and to the floors and the cracks and the idiosyncrasies of the building. You get to see the field of sunflowers, but it starts to move just like it did when he was painting it. So images that you know that are really familiar, that you picture as frozen, as still the way that he did it, come to life.
The immersive Van Gogh exhibition opens May 1st at the Toronto Star building at 1 Yonge Street. Tickets go on sale this Friday. Well, that's our newscast for tonight. Tomorrow on Q, Tom Power speaks with Jan Arden. Always a fun interview. He's going to be talking with her about her life in music, all in advance of being honored at this year's Juno Awards. You can hear that interview tomorrow at 10 a.m. on CBC Radio 1. I'll see you back here tomorrow night at 11. Good night.